Okie dokie, we are here. Now, here we go. Welcome to Saturday afternoon with ZBrush. I'm your host, Paul Gaboury. So, thanks for tuning in on this glorious Saturday. So, I want to continue what I was doing with last Saturday, looking at a Gremlin, and just for fun. Thanks, Randy. Always a question for me. So I wanted to continue looking at what I was doing with the Gremlin and how I was working with this and coming up, because I'm a big 80s kid fan. So I wanted to take a look at this and see what we could do and go through the process of, okay, we talked about blocking it out real quick last week. And just using Z-spheres, and I showed a couple brushes of how I quickly get to things. So I kind of want to take him in chunks. So I want to start with the head, because it's obviously the big thing. So I'm going to start with the head and kind of show you where I'm going to go with this and how I would go about the process of sculpting a Gremlin for myself inside of ZBrush. I'm going to show the various ways, as you can see right now on my screens. Yes, I agree with that, M. Patron. 80s or not, everyone should watch. Yes, I concur. So, again, I'm going to do a little quick calibration here of my tablet. Always important to do this. Somehow there we go. Now it's lined up. Somehow my little Cintiq here got out of line when I hit play. Okay, so, again, I'm going to break this up into little sections for us so we can really take a look at and go through that and see what we get as going through the process of making this. So I want to first cover with bringing in references, okay? Because there is multiple ways to do this inside of ZBrush, bringing in any referencing. So I want to make sure because everyone's different, everyone will work differently. So you can see I've got obviously images over here on the left. I've even got an image over here on the right. So this is a combination right now. I like to use in essence for when I'm sculpting, I like to use a combination of spotlight and I like to use the floor grid. There are other ways to go about this. The easiest one would be using this see-through on the top. So it'll make ZBrush's UI, the entire thing transparent. So you can see there's the Todd McFarlane stream that we did this week on Monday. Almost said last week. This is my third stream this week, so forgive me. It's all coming together. So you can see what this is actually now looking at is it's actually looking at the back of my desktop. So whatever I put there is going to show up, right? So, but I can, if we switch to any brush, okay, I want to start sculpting through here. I can sculpt through here. Okay, so right now I have something on, so let me go, and we're going to cover this, so don't worry. Go through here, and you can see I can start sculpting, right? So I can line this up right wherever I want, and it's looking at anything that's behind ZBrush. Okay, so this is something that people like to do. I like to do this one when I'm kind of trying to match something out of a movie, especially I'll have the movie in the background. I.e., obviously, the Gremlins. I don't have it on this system though. I have it on DVD, old school. So you can go through the scene, stop them, and kind of use them and have it sit in there and sculpt, right? So it's nice to be able to do this, right? So this is one way to do reference imaging. So again, this is just the see-through up here. Okay. The next one would be what we're looking at right now, which is the spotlight way of going about this. Okay, so this could come in very handy, right? So I'm going to go through the process of pretty much how I got these images in really quick and show you what I did, specifically this image right over here, how I cropped out everything but that Gremlin head in the image, right? Because this is important. I want to set myself up first and make sure I get set up to get going. I think that's just important as an artist, period. Okay, and it's just like any atmosphere. Obviously you can see my office space. I got a bunch of stuff behind me. I think that's crucial as an artist to put yourself in a spot that really gets your head in the going. All right, enough about me talking. Let's move on here. So let's just say I don't have any images. So I'm going to go through and I'm just going to delete these images by hitting the X key. Okay. So I'll just delete them. So they're gone. All right. And what I've done is I've imported the images right here inside of my texture palette. Right. So there's just various images that I have of the Gremlin. Okay. So you're just going to import right through here. So I'll look at the old magnifier, right? So I'm in the texture palette and I'm in the import, right? And that'll open up so I can import everything. Okay. And then all the images will just plop into place here. Right? Okay. So now if I want one of them, all I do is I click on this image and you'll see now it's highlighted up here on the top. Okay. So I'm going to unmagnify this. So I clicked on this image and now it's up here at the top as if it's the selected image. So you can see over here, it's selected on the brush. So what this is telling ZBrush is I can throw a texture on my brush if I want to and use that color information, okay, as a way to texture out everything, right? And then I have the ability to add it to my spotlight. So that's what this add to spotlight button. You'll see when I scroll over, you can see, it's hard to point at, but right in this area, you'll see it says add to spotlight, it's telling you. So again, I'm hovering over this button right here that's got like the up and down arrows, up and down like this too, and like this, right? So in the plus and minus, I click on that, and then there you go, it adds to my spotlight. Then I say, okay, I want this one as well, add to my spotlight. And then I want a 3/4 view of him. So I'm gonna go grab the 3/4 and add it to the spotlight, right? But no, I don't want to inverse it. I want to add it to the spotlight. So you can see this one's cropped out. So I'm going to add a different 3/4 view. Let's see if in fact, here, let me import another view here. So let me grab even another one that I have. Let's re-import that image and then show you how I kind of did that cropping off, because I find that very useful, because a lot of times when I'm looking at references, there's like stuff in the references that I don't really care about, right? I'm sure you've all ran into that. So the most important thing to me is, looking at the Gremlin guy. So there, I brought him in, and because I'm in Spotlight, it automatically throws it in Spotlight. So you can see this is what we have. All right. So I want to have some images scattered around here. I see it as I'm a big, what's up, Dark Knight? Okay. I'm a big component of having books and everything out. Excuse me. Bless me. Sorry. Having books out, right? I still collect a lot of art books. So this is what this gives me. It has my images scattered all over the place. So all I have to do is just click on the image and it moves it around. Okay, this dial is going to be our controlling of the image. So right now the mode I'm in is edit spotlight mode, because I'm editing the images. I'm not sculpting with them. Thank you. Thanks for the bless you. I'm not sculpting that or anything like that. I want to just do images. Okay. So hold on one second. So what I'm going to do is say, hey, I want to crop some of this off. Okay. Or I want to change the size. I want to rotate it. So when you scroll over all these icons here, I'm going to move my dial over here. You can see in the middle of the circle, we tell you in the middle what each icon does. All right. And this dial, in essence, is your pivot point. So if I say go here to rotate and I start to rotate, you can see that image is rotating around the center of that dial. So I can undo, right? And if I scale, see, it starts scaling towards the dial, right? So obviously I want to maybe scale the image, or there's parts of the image. So this means I can move this anywhere I want in the image. Like I can move it here to this part and then scale, and you see this part becomes in essence the pivot point of the image, and I can scale in and out to that image, right? I can even turn and snap this. So I have snapping ability, right? So you can see there's a red, orange circle right here in the middle of my image. See that right there? So all I got to do is inside this circle here, I click this. This allows me to move the dial anywhere inside this area. Move the dial, and then I can snap it, and then I can scale this in and out if I want. Okay. And then if I click on it anywhere, it just moves the dial to that spot, and then I can move it, right? So this is what I'm talking about. I don't need all this craziness in the background of this image. I'm just really looking to focus on him. And I just want to have him sitting around in my scene. So this is how I'm going to do this, right? I'm going to switch to the paintbrush, okay? And just for visuals, I'm going to switch to this wonderful blue. What's happening, Mikey Mike 242? Okay, so now this allow me, you can see, just paint the color. And it's using whatever brush I have selected here to paint, okay? What's really cool, though, is here, your draw size obviously is going to control the painting that you do, okay? So what I'm going to do is start filling this with that blue tone in essence, right? So if I go a little bit bigger draw size, I can start filling all this up, right? So you can see I can start filling into him. So this is almost like a masking way for me to mask things out, right? So I can start filling, and then I can sit here and draw. So what I'm doing here is when I'm kind of trying to fill out, a lot of times I'll use, when I'm doing this, I'll just use obviously the paintbrush, right, to do this, because it's meant for painting. Why not, right? And then what I'm doing is I've actually switched to paint again in Spotlight, and then it's allowing me to paint, like I can paint across him like that, right? And undo that. But if you guys, here, I'm going to undo all this. Undo, 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 undo. Get back to the rest like this, okay? If you are sitting anywhere on the image and you hold down the control key and just start clicking, dragging, you can see ZBrush is just looking for commonality, right? And masking out. And I can keep growing and growing. And you know, that's good. There you go. And then I can paint any of that out and paint this out. Now, what's the beauty of this, the reason why I'm doing it in this color is because I wanted you all to have a visual understanding of what's happening here as I mask stuff out, right? So if I switch to black and then do that same thing, you can see black is transparent, right? So now that image, right, I'm going to turn off the paint area, and now I can move this wherever I want. And if you notice, it is only that Gremlin 3/4 view. So then I'm going to put this maybe over here somewhere just to have this as a reference, okay? And you can see that's how I got to this one. We don't need two of them. And then I definitely want to have just some color reference, some inspiration in here. I like to have some inspiration. The white's not bothering me as much, so I'm cool with that, right? And then now, if I want to come out of this edit spotlight mode, again, this is when you see the dial, you're in edit spotlight mode. Okay. So then I click on this, which is the Z key. And now you see my images and I see my model. So to Mikey Mike, to your question, can you paint all of that? So yeah, you can paint this. So as an example, right now by default, let me turn this back on. If we're working with this model, right? And I've got this model, the point of Spotlight is to allow me, I can bring the model, let's say, over to this image, and then I can just start painting. And what's going to happen is that paint is going to project right on the model, right? So I can come over here and paint this here, right? And you can see now I'm painting that image. So of course, just like anything, your image quality is going to depend on how good you're going to get a projection. And then of course, the number of polygons that you're getting is also going to be important, right? So those two factors come into play, right? What are you doing for those factors in there, okay? So moving along here, it doesn't just do that, it also will sculpt, okay? So I want to have the ability to come over here, right? And then if I want to say switch to the standard brush, okay, I can put on the Z add and I can sit here and do this, right? And you can see it's sculpting him into that sphere, right? And of course I can grab any one of this over here and start sculpting, and then see that's starting to go into his image, into the sphere itself, right? So someone's bringing up image grabbing from Spotlight. Okay, so if I want to grab a color from Spotlight, you absolutely can do that. As you can see now, I'm grabbing. So obviously this is why it's important to understand what mode you're in, right, I have to go into the edit spotlight mode, which right now I'm using short keys, which right now I use the Z key as in ZBrush, right? But really up here in transform, you can see there's the edit mode right there. So I've been going in and out, right? So when you see the dial, you're just look at it this way. You're editing the images, right? Or grabbing color like you just asked from that. I'm just holding the C key down and then I'm just hovering over any part of the image and then I'm going to get that color. It's that simple. Okay? That's the easiest and fastest way to do it. Okay? So I've got a request for Emmanuel. Look up here, people. Look up here. Important stuff. Okay? So are you in midnight? Oh, Marco's hitting the... Marco, I like it. You have to hit before midnight. After midnight, you should not drink or eat. Yes. Right? So, now, thinking about this, okay, for reference imaging and things like that, there might be points where maybe you want to even paint some of the image on there, right? And you can see right now, I've been moving the sphere over to the image and everything like that, and I can't really see my model below that. So where your images are going to sit will be important. So just as an example, let's use this one, and let's scale this one up just a little bit more. And you can see the quality of the image is not very good. I'm going to move my dial here on his nose because the most important thing to me is his head right now, right? And you can see how beneficial this is to be able to move spotlight where I want it, okay? And then over here, you have an opacity control. So you can see you can drop the opacity of the images. So when we switch modes and going into the projection mode, all right, I can have that opacity. What I prefer to do, which I'm a fan of, is I like to keep my opacity all the way up. And I like to activate this spotlight radius. So this icon right here, it looks like a kind of a spotlight coming from above, if you want to go that route, right? So then if I click on that and turn, so this is like old school rotary phone, people. Right? And I'm going to do a little bit of that. And now when I hit the Z key to come out, you can see the image is there now, and I can scroll over and there's that image, right? And over here's that image. And right now I have the spotlight on, so I'll turn that off. And this, right, is just doing this to me now, right? And I can even be in symmetry mode and then see I can start sculpting with this. So it's sculpting it in there, okay? I can even throw an RGB, right? And right in here, and I can sculpt and paint as much as I want. And right now I'm using symmetry, right? So again, if I switch to the paintbrush, then I'm just gonna paint it in there, right? So I can turn this off, symmetry off, and then I can just paint away. And now this is right on the model. So I'm showing this because there's something else I'm gonna show in the next way, okay? So this is just something that I prefer to do, right? It's just a personal preference. I like to have that spotlight on. So I'm going to size this back down here, okay? And I'm going to come over here. I only need it as it's just my, oh, I need some inspiration. Let's put him down here and put this here. I like having that silhouette now that we have that up here over, right? Okay, so that's your spotlight. You have the ability to project the paint. You have the ability to project the sculpt. Right now, I just want to use it as just referencing. Like I just want to have it as a way to reference things. So you can see I've switched to the clay buildup brush and I can't sculpt. I can't do anything. Okay, and that's because by default, this feature is about projecting the images onto your model, right? It's about projecting, do I want an image? Do I want sculpt? Okay. Magwai. Pretty. Okay, so 100%, if you wanted to do displacement maps this way, Yutkin, you could do that. Personally, if you were going to want to do that, you're going super old school here with that question, man. Okay, so what you can do, let's finish the spotlight thing, and I'll show you old school. That is Tangentville at its best right there a little bit, right? So I don't want to project the images. I just want to use them as references. So everybody, this is a very important moment here. This is definitely a Lisa needs braces moment, right? This is Lisa needs braces moment. If I'm not looking to use the projection, right, as a way to project the images onto something, and I'm just want to use it the way I'm using it right now, then in the brush palette, you have to go to samples here. And down here, you can see there's a spotlight projection. So I'll turn the magnifier on so you guys can really see that button. So this is a look up here, right? Okay. If I just now click that, that's telling ZBrush that I don't want to project the images anymore. Just let me sculpt freely, right? So even if I move a sphere over here, you can see it's not sculpting in there. And again, to your question, Kevin, when adding images, you just import an image into your texture menu, click on any one of them, and you hit the add to spotlight right here. That's it. That's all you got to do. And then the beauty of this, people, once you're in spotlight mode, you could also load images through your light box. So I'm just hitting the camellia. What's happening, side effects, right? So you hit the comma key, right? And then I can just go to textures. And now anytime I double click on any texture in this menu, it's automatically loaded to Spotlight because I have Spotlight turned on. Okay. If you always want to turn Spotlight off, like, hey, get rid of the images, give me back just this, like I have right now, right? All you have to do, I'm using the shortcut, of course, is in the texture palette, there's an on and off right there. And everyone, for 4 million points, what's the shortcut? Right? The shortcut obviously is what? Everyone say it with me now. Shift Z, right? So there you go. That's part of the Spotlight. So now I like to use Spotlight because I like to just have inspirational images with my floor grid, right? So again, we covered this in the first stream of our Gremlin, but there's some things that I didn't touch base on as much. I didn't go into his detail. So I want to go in a little bit of detail here for this one, right? So I love the people knew Shift Z already coming in. So you can see here, I have an image in the front. I have an image in the back, okay? I have an image on from above. I also have an image on the left. So these are just allowing you to load multiple images. Now the beauty is when I click on this, because I've imported images, right, into the texture palette, I already have them here and I can just click on them, right? I can even click on this 3/4, right? And then there's that 3/4 down there at the bottom. Okay, so I don't want that, obviously. I want to go back to having my top image. This one is what I want there. So you have 2 in each one. So you're going to have a front view and then, of course, the back. Now, what's nice about this is I do have a front image and I have a back image. So as I scroll around, we swap the image out for you. So you can see when I'm looking at the back of the model, I'm looking at the back image. So this is kind of what I like about this too, is I can have a front and back. In essence, I can store multiple images through here, right? So it's nice to be able to have this. So obviously this would be the same thing if I had a top and a bottom, which I don't need a bottom because I just need a top, okay? Now, what's great about this is, okay, let's just scroll. Let's just make this a little bit bigger. And as I move over top of the sphere, you guys see that there's shooting red, blue, and green lines, right? That's really going to help me line imagery up. It's going to help me line things up with the model, okay? It's going to help me with a lot of other great things here, okay? Is there a limit importing images in the viewport? Are you talking about for Spotlight? There's really no max limit, but obviously it's based upon how much space do you want to take up with images, okay? That would, I guess, would be what you're going. What's happening, Dr. Depresso? Great to have you here. So web etching, hopefully that helps you, answers your question. As far as importing the images, you can keep importing a bunch of images. It's just how much space do you want to obviously start taking up in your canvas area, document/document area with images. Okay, so now what's going to be good about this is I don't need, again, like we were talking with this over here, I don't want all this in the way, right? So I'm going to go and I'm going to adjust this image. Okay, and then this is my image. And see, I can scroll around in this image. And you're going to have red circles here. And I can just click and drag. And what these are cropping circles, right? So now whatever's hot, whatever is the not dark portion or the brighter portion of my image, okay, that's all that ZBrush is really going to start looking at. So I'm just going to crop this image up a little bit because I don't need everything in the background. I just need him. And you can see there's cropping going on right here. And now when I hit OK, the only thing I see, right, is that cropped image. So I'm going to do this now for the rest of these because it's just nice to be able to adjust these. So I'm remembering, and then this is remembering the last crop that I did. So it's automatic. It's making it a little bit easier for me and quicker for me to do that. I'm going to say that's good to go. I like that. Now from the top, okay, I'm going to adjust that one as well. Okay, so I want to go probably from there, and we'll come across all the way across, and then all the way in. Hey, boo-boo, we're making a gremlin, boo-boo. Okay, I just had to do Yogi Bear. I know it's not a good impression, but oh well. Okay, so, and then there was the back image too, which I just really, I'm probably not going to use this back image. Maybe when I go to sculpt like these kind of details, I'll look at just ideas through here. But really, I just wanted to have this to give you guys the understanding that you can have several images. All right, so now you can see the images because of the cropping and what's going on. They could be various sizes, okay? So Randy Dice is asking a fantastic question, everybody. Can you use this with Shadowbox? Oh. Yes, we're going to get to that, Randy. You don't worry. This is going to be awesome, okay? So what I first might want to do is also have the ability to kind of line up the images. This is why this little shooting lines coming off can become very important, right? You can see I'm looking now at the blue line and seeing where the bottom part of that eye is, and then seeing, is that really lining up with the side image? It's not. Obviously, I'm not going to see it from the top. So the first two images I'm going to line up, because it's probably the most used images for me, is the front and the side. And I have a 3/4 over here, right? So I'm that front and side view. So it looks like I need to either size down my side or size up my front view. So I'm going to size down the side view. So I have a size slider here, okay? And now what I can start to use as well, so right here in the bottom here, I'm just gonna close these so you guys don't see as much open. So again, I'm in the draw palette right now that I've just docked in the tray to the left, okay? And now there's my left and right that I'm changing the size. And in modifiers here, there's a frame opacity. So I'm just gonna turn this all the way up so you guys can see the framing really well. All right, and in here, you know what? Let's just also change my document color a little bit. Maybe not. Yeah, hot pink. Who wouldn't want hot pink? Okay, so you can see the floor gridding, right? So this helps me look at things. So for example, if you look in this grid right here, you can see where that peak is. You can see that's sitting too high. If I come along here, it's not following. Right? And again, you got to take these images with grain of salt, right? These images are not like they're set up and everything's lined up perfectly. It's not like it's a blueprint, right? So be careful about this. Don't get at least close, right? Get as close as you can, because again, there was different distance from each of the model when it was taken, right? And who knows the camera angles, you know, is it higher or lower, right? I don't know. So I'm just going to size this down till I kind of get in that area, general area in there, right? And then now I'm seeing, okay, the eyes. Okay, so there's the bottom of the eye, and if I follow that through, that's pretty close, right? So I'm actually going to also size change now a little bit. The actual, might help if I click on the front image, change that just a touch, right? So now I'm going to use that ear as my main point. And then there you go. Those are lined up enough now, so when I switch here, I'm getting a relatively accurate view. So now I want to go to this top view, okay? And I'm going to use now the front view to line that up. So there's up, down. So there's my up view, right? And I'm looking at the tips of his ears. They need to come in just a little bit. So I'm going to bring those in just a touch, right? And I'm looking at following that line right there. Okay, so I'm going to say, and then of course I can start dialing this in if I want to, and typing in values if I really want to do something like that, right? And then there you have it. Now I have the heads kind of proportionately to where I want. Obviously the front view is very fish-eyed, okay? So this is now something that I have the ability to start lining up. The last thing I'm going to do, since I'm going to spend a lot of time in the front view and looking at this, I want to line this up a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my front view, and right here again you have horizontal movements, right, and you have vertical movements, right. So I'm going to find the middle grid point, right. So here's my middle grid point, and I can use this green line right here. You see that green line right there at the bottom? That's my world axis. So watch this. I'm going to go back to modifiers and see this axis slider. There's that green line. Okay, and then here, I'm gonna make the opacity of the images a little different, right? So then I'm just looking, I'm gonna follow this line straight through now, and I wanna line up a little bit of the nose through there. So I'm just gonna move this a little bit just to give it a little more lining up. It's not a lot, but right through here, I'm just lining that up. That's all I'm looking to line up right now. This is, of course, if I wanna be really particular, right? That looks good to me. It's good enough. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I like that. All right, now I've got my images. They're ready to go. Yay! Super. Okay, so I'm going to quick save this. Okay, so when I'm saving a project, this is going to save this grid that I've set up with my project, with this sphere in the middle. It will not save my spotlight stuff that I have all over the place. Okay, but this is the benefit of saving a project over saving a tool, right? But if I want to save my spotlight setup in the texture palette, you can go right here at the top where it says Save Spotlight. Okay, Randy Dice, the axis sliders again. Okay, we're in the draw palette, right? So I'm in the draw palette. I'm going all the way to the bottom, right? And then there'll be a modifiers menu right here. You're going to open that up. And then right here, there's a slider called axis. Right there, I'm highlighting it right now. Need some airflow in my office right now. Okay, so there you go. That's how I change the axis sizing, right? So you can have that stay at 8, but I'm going to put it back to the default, which is 1. Okay, now to that question that you were asking, all right, using something like Shadowbox with this, that's a great thought process that you're having here. But before we get to that, one other thing, when I was talking about in Spotlight, how you can paint the images onto a model, right? And that's the purpose of Spotlight. Well, this floor grid ability has the capability to project the images onto the mesh, right? So when I'm looking straight on, this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing him, and then when I'm looking here, I look at the side, and I look here, I see the top view. Right? So this can be handy sometimes when I'm using this floor grid to kind of just see the image being put on where I am with the sculpt. I like to use this kind of when I'm further down the blocking out. So I'm going to turn this off right now. So again, this is just this slider right here in the draw palette. Okay? So again, we're in the floor grid section right here. And this is by default going to be set to 0. When it's set to 0, you got all your images there. Okay, so right here is the snap menu. So this is going to what Randy was asking, and I was planning to go here anyways. Okay, so this is going to give you the ability to snapshot the floor grids to your model. So right now I just have a sphere selected. So you can do a snap to axis, snap to mesh, and then you can see now the floor grid readjusted, and now it's the size, perfect size, right, of the model, right? And if I had multiple subtools, I would say snap to all, and then I can say snap to axis, okay? So there's multiple ways to do this, right? And then of course you see there's a auto snap to Shadowbox. Okay, so to Randy's question, the beauty part about that I like about this as well is over here now. If we come over here, I'm going to close this. Okay, now I've got this images and they're snapshotted to a sphere. Maybe the fastest way for me to block this out, right, would be actually to use Shadowbox. Okay, raise of hands, quickly, go quick. Who's used Shadowbox before? Obviously, Randy has. How do you doing, you whiz? I like that name, you whiz. Right, so who's used Shadowbox before? Why it takes some H2O? Giovanni's like, Shadowbox? Huh? What's Shadowbox? Okay, so this is going to be a combination of things for us. This is going to be like one of these things where we're like, this is for you, the user. Right? This is going to also be a Lisa needs braces moment for you all. Okay? To paying attention here. Hi, Sad. How are you? Thanks for joining. Okay? So if I want to now take advantage of having this floor grid and having these images everywhere for setting up, I'm going to come over here to my geometry. You can see right now it's just a normal sphere. It's got subdivision levels. Okay? I don't even need this subdivision level. Who needs a subdivision level right now? I don't need them. So I'm going to delete them lower because I'm trying to block out this head. That's what I'm trying to do right now. Okay? And in the geometry, because I want to change this sphere, I want to change the geometry of this sphere, there's going to be an option called Shadowbox right here. So I'll magnify it for my old age here, my old visuals here, Shadowbox. I click on that, and now we're going to have options. I know it's overbearing. It's got a button and 2 sliders, right? There's not much there. Okay, so the button is in essence activating Shadowbox. And then your resolution is just like Dynamesh when we were talking about Dynamesh. It's how much resolution, and it's exactly like when I went into the Dynamesh last stream, showing you guys like a box, right? And understanding that each side of the box in Dynamesh, you're just giving it a resolution. If your model's taller, you're obviously stretching that box. Okay, so Shadowbox is a box, right? It's a cube in the world. And I'm going to tell it how much resolution are you allowed to have in this cube. I'm going to keep it at 128, and then I like to have some polishing to it. So I'm going to keep it at this default. I'm going to click Shadowbox, and you can see I now have this cube sitting here, and you can see the images are now fitting to the Shadowbox. So why would you guys like this? Okay, so as a user, I'm going to say, let's throw Symmetry on now. Okay. And I'm just going to start looking at his head, right? So I want to start masking out. Okay. And you can see what's happening is there is a mesh starting to be created here in the middle. How about I just turn off the floor? Right. So if I turn off the floor, you can see all I'm doing is masking right now. And whatever I mask on this plane, I get in the middle. And the back plane by default, okay, is going to give you a thickness automatically. It's going to give you a set thickness by default, okay? So hopefully my my air conditioner just turned on. Is it causing too much fan noise? And let me know if it does. I'll turn it off and sweat it out. Okay, so the beauty of this, just like we were talking about with this floor grid and everything, is I have these lines shooting across. So I can actually see where the shadow ends here on the front view. I can see where that's ending to try and stay in there. Okay, great. Can't hear the AC at all. Yes. Okay. So now that I have this, I can just go ahead and mask. Now, when I'm shadowboxing, okay, I like to turn on transparency and ghost. That way I can see the mask that's happening. Okay. And right now, like my images might be a little strong, so I go to my draw palette, right? And then there's an opacity control here. And now my images aren't as strong, and I'm just now literally traced by numbers, just quickly shadowboxing this out, and I'm getting that form. You know, it's a great quick way to get this shape that I really want to have in my gremlin. And really, again, I should only be paying attention to one side of this image. Okay, so I'm going to pay attention to screen left side, right? Because I have symmetry on, right? And then there I have now this being made in the middle, okay? And what I want to do is make the side view, right? And then now you start mapping out your side view. And then see, this is where having alignments come into play, right? Because you see I'm masking way over here now, okay? If I wanted to move the side of the face, because right now I'm not looking at the ears, right? I'm only just looking at his head. I can just quickly mask this out. This is great. I love using Shadowbox for like shoes and boots. It's a really fast way. Remember, the goal of this is just blocking out like a proportion of his head, right? Just getting that right. Right? So you can see the shadows aren't sitting in the same spot, right? So I would have taken an extra second here, right? Say, okay, let me move this head now closer. So this is why I like this. I have the ability. Okay, let me look at my left and right. Okay, I need to move this more in this area. And I'm going to say now it needs to be sized up. And now I'm going to need some vertical movement in there. I'm looking at this and this right now is what I'm looking at, right? This is why it's important. This is why I like using this, is I can continue to use images and then just line them up. So I kind of want to make sure I get that size somewhat accurate here. So I'm going to say 1.2 maybe. That's a little much. 1.5, 0.5. Okay, and then now let me horizontal and do a vertical movement here and say, all right, I'm going to go a little bit bigger, 1.06. And then there you go, right? So I've got this to a side view where I'm lining up. Like that's the top from the front and this is the bottom from the front. So I should be trying to line that up here as well. So that when I go in here and now mask this out, whatever the two masks now, wherever they meet, okay, that's what the mesh I get in the middle now. So now I'm doing this really quickly. Get kind of just a very ballpark, nice masking out way of figuring out this head. Right? And then it's just a quick mask. Whoops. All right, there you go. This is where, and now what's being created in the middle is this. Right? So then, of course, I need to line up the top view now. It looks like I need to take the time to line that up. All right. So I'm going to go to my up-down view. This guy needs to be moved, okay, in the vertical a little bit. And I definitely need to scale this up a little bit. Yeah. Okay, and let's do again some horizontal. Let's pick, I'm using that nose. Again, I'm using this part of the image to line the things up right now. So I'm just quickly putting just so I have a little bit more symmetrical. And then now let me vertically move this to something more like that. Okay, and then now this will help me get the overall right shape that I want to start getting here with my gremlin. So you can see this could be pretty handy to just quickly block out something. So I just get a general nice shape here, and so I'm going to turn off the floor grid, and now I'm going to look at my lines here. So you can see the back part. I need a little bit more in the back here, up here. Give them a little bit more, volume on the side, and then okay, the front. Right. So if I'm looking from this, I'm following this line. Okay, that front view. I need add a little more volume to that. So it's a simple volumes to that. Make his chin have a little bit more, and then I can take away with clearing some mask out. Okay, and then there you go. I've got now a start to a gremlin head blocked out. So if I turn Shadowbox off, this is what I have. Okay, and then now I just start coming through and start sculpting naturally, right? This is just giving me my general gremlin shape here. Okay, so what I like to do is I really like to use the trim brush. Here, I like to use this trim dynamic and just it's like using a tool in clay and just quickly just start refining some of this block out that it gave me. Again, people, the goal here is not to be perfect, right? I'm blocking out right now. I'm just trying to quickly get to this point, okay? And voila, we're off and we are running. So obviously the other thing I like to use, okay, for this is now that I have this, I want to switch definitely into Dynamesh mode. So I'm going to turn the blur off and switch into Dynamesh mode because I'm going to start going at this and start just playing a little bit more with this. So I'm going to add a little bit more resolution. I'm going to say 256 and Dynamesh it. So now I've got this smoothing here. I got my general gremlin in here, right? So I need to now start from that quick block out from Shadowbox. Let's start continuing this process and start building upon this, right? Okay, so to the question that's coming through about the sliders, okay, there's going to be, so the sliders in essence, you can touch them, right? Will give you the ability to tap into them. There's going to be some sliders too where refinement becomes important. So if I go to, let's say, the draw one, oh, not this, in here, right? You can click in here, right, to change your draw size, right? So you just click anywhere and it'll go to there. Okay, there's going to be sliders that you'll find, though, there'll be a secondary slider for some refinement. Okay, so there are those sliders. In fact, let me see. I don't think they're in the, I got to remember where you guys will be able to see this. Let me turn on the floor grid. Okay, no, they're not in here. Okay, there are some sliders I got to remember. I'll think about it as we're going along here. Okay, so now you can see I've got this blocked out, good to go. This is a time now where I like to turn off the floor and now just pretty much straight up sculpt him. I've got this general, like, right, his cheekbone, and this is where I start looking at this. If I want to bring more image, man, okay? I'm having some problems saying images today. So now I'm just going to start sculpting real quick. Okay, so I'm personally a big fan of using the clay buildup, right? So I definitely need some volume in here for his eyes, right, to come through here. I'm looking at this now as his main bone structure right through here for that jaw. It's going to come down into here. Just looking at that really quick. Redynamesh. Definitely need some more volume for his eyes through here. So just quickly blocking this out. Again, I'm just trying to get to the point where I've got a nice block out, okay? Now, this is where a combination I like to add as well, besides just being in Dynamesh mode, okay? I like to use Sculptors Pro at this part, okay? It's just going to be able to give me an extra point of creating some volume. And I don't have to worry about anything but creating him. So you can see it's very flat face. So I definitely want, he's not pancaking it, right? So we need to start pulling out that face, right? And start giving him some volume. So start giving that some volume and start reestablishing those cheekbones and maybe where this starts sitting in this part of the world. Just quickly, you know, I'm trying to be quick about this because I don't want to spend, and then I redynamesh too much and redynamesh time just looking at this. Just get a quick general feel of where this should be, right? When I'm sculpting, I'm really thinking about some bone structure as well through here. That's really going to be an important part. Now, here's something else that becomes very handy, right? This is a new feature as well. Okay, I'm sure you guys are, if you're looking over here, let's look in this area right here. Let's turn on polyframe and let's turn off the line. Okay, so if you're looking right here, I want to pull this in, right? But you see what's happening? It's only pulling where my brush is. Okay. So I want to be able to pull a little bit all the surface, right? So if we look, there is a brush now called the Move Infinite Depth right here. So if I'm doing this, I can actually see create the volume, and this will help me block out a little bit more. And I don't have to worry about creating what I like to call pockets or mucking up the sculpt. I like to say dirtying the sculpt up a little bit. And see, like this part down here, I just want to give this a overall touch in there and start moving. And then whatever position I go to, right, I know I'm moving the whole surface all the way through. Okay. So this is just a feature that's on. Okay. So this brush right now is the Move Infinite. So it's infinite moving. So it sees all the mesh. Okay. When I showed Jimmy Enemy, when I showed the projection, are you referring to for spotlight, or are you referring to the floor grid? Which one are you talking about when you're talking about the projection? I'm not sure which one you're talking about for that. Okay, so jump in there and I'll come in. So and then Randy, special event ever since you showed the underbrush. So no, it can't be set as a default, Randy, the alternate smooth right now. And setting that as the default, I don't know. I couldn't say if we will do that. I actually don't like that because I like to be able to switch to like a stronger smooth and then take my hand off the shift key and start. I find myself switching a lot through that. Right. So now we're starting to really get this blocked out. Okay. So back to where this is found. Okay. Because this is nice that it's on the move brush. Okay. But you guys are going to be able to put this in other things, right? Just like you have all this ability here to do auto masking, there's also other things you can do in here, okay? Like this in the depth, okay? So there's a gravity setting, which I'm gonna start doing when I start putting these wrinkles in, like the major wrinkles of him in, okay? But there's an infinite depth. So think about this as, it's not really like a masking option like I've been showing, okay? It's more of like, it's a plane option or a brush option to what I'm doing. And you can see right here, there are XYZ options. Okay. So with all of them off, it's using camera plane, right? So if I turn on just the Y, so you can see just Y is on, then the only infinite depth I get is Y, right? So you can see this is moving. Here, let me turn off my floor grid in the Y only, right? So in essence, ZBrush is only looking at here and only moving this way. It'd be like me coming up to you guys in the camera, and now I can only do this movement, right? And then whatever geometry is right here, all right, in the Y axis, that's what gets moved, okay? So this brush really is nice, but people, you can put this on any brush. This is the point I'm trying to make here. What's up, Mr. Sanson? Okay. And then Tassad, to your question, what is the transparent in here? That's for making the texture. So if you have pure black in an image, if you have that transparent option on, then it's going to give the pure black as transparency. Just like how I did this image right over here on the right in the beginning of our stream. Okay. So you can see I'm starting to really put some form in here. I'm starting to get a little bit closer to me having a gremlin face. Now this is just some straight up, just quickly now starting to look at my reference images. And this is kind of why I like to use some spotlight as well. Try not to move around. I like to look through here, just kind of matching that up. Okay, his head's got this dip going in it. It definitely does not have that, right? So I need to fix that. So I'm just gonna, this is beautiful for that because it's a filling in brush, the clay buildup brush, right? And, you know, I was talking about before the using something like Sculptors Pro. This is where I kind of will start looking at some Sculptors Pro options in here. Because if I turn that on, I'm adding tessellation at the same time, right? So I can really hone in that shape in there. But what can come in handy is switching to the snake hook, especially, right? So there's two snake hooks. There's snake hook 1 and there's snake hook 2. Snake hook 1 is camera plane dependent, right? So it's looking at just the camera again. So however the mesh is to the camera, that's what it's looking at. Snake hook 2 is normal dependent, right? So if I want to start pulling out a little bit of a nose, it's, you know, we can go something crazy like that if we really wanted to. But Sculptors Pro is adding tessellation. So I like this because then it just gives me another way of working. But on the same token, right, I like the way I can smooth things out really fast. I definitely need some more volume through the front here, top view, right? It obviously finding images is going to be so key, and just adding some more volume through here will be an important process for me, right? And then start mapping that out. Yes, give me my gremlin. Okay, and then let's start building this up. Let's go with a larger brush size. So I'm going to get bigger triangles. Definitely need some more volume here, right? And then I'm going to now, okay, when I'm blocking out, you gotta be careful not to marry yourself, right? And get in the weeds. Don't get in the weeds here, people. Right? So you can see I'm getting in the weeds. It's a little too much going on now there in the back. So I want to push this back and push this part back a little bit as well. So I'm going to just use Sculptors Pro to kind of push that back. It's nice because you can see how big the triangles are. Because I'm at a bigger brush size, it makes even for a stronger smoothing ability, right? So if I turn off Sculptors Pro, it's just smoothing. And then I can re-dynamesh at any time. And now I'm back to just regular smoothing, and it's not as strong. So in essence, I will bounce between them to make variations going on here through here, okay? So I'm starting to now get a little bit of a head, but I need more of his head, right? I need him to have a little bit of a neck. That's going to help me start lining more of the proportions up. I definitely need to put some ears on him. That's really important, obviously, to start making it look like a gremlin. Those ears are going to help me make sure I'm establishing that jawline here, because obviously on a human, right? If I put my pen right here, so here, let's go. Let's do this. Oh boy, watch this. Now we're going to get an extreme close-up, right? So right here, right, from the side, I'm looking just like in us, right? There, we got our ear, and I'm looking for that line right there, where my pen is, like to go along that mandible. So the ear, right, should not be starting in front of the mandible part, right? It should be starting behind it. So right now, I don't have an ear to establish my gremlin. Where is that jawline? How far back in the head is it supposed to go? And I need some help for that. So I need to start blocking out an ear, and just so I can start having, and then I need a neck to help me establish, you know, where that neck's going to sit in, because that part of the front, that jaw coming down, I don't want to be pulling it too far down and getting away from the proper proportions of a gremlin. Okay, so I want to start adding that. Okay, so there you go. You got full camera view this stream, baby. Extreme close up. Okay, so to the other person's question, I saw it come in. Sorry, I haven't been able to get to it. So you're asking about, again, the projecting the imagery on using the spotlight. So again, I just hit the Z key, all right? And then this is my images. You can see my images. And right now, I got to go into samples and turn on the spotlight projection. If I want to project the images into him, right? I got to get to this point, right? So here's something also that's very cool that can come in handy for you with Spotlight that I also really like to use, right? And then unfortunately, my image quality is not very good. So number one, the Spotlight project is going to be important, right? Because that's going to tell it to project the image. And let's just move the images around a little bit. Let's just see, I can move this image and move it off to space. And let's just focus on this one as an example, just because it's got color in it. I'm going to make this bigger. And again, you're going to see that this image I pulled is really bad. Like you can see how pixelated this image is getting. It's not a good image at all. right? It's not very good at all. It's garbage. Okay, so we can do this, and then I can opacity set this up, right? And then now I'm just going to use this. I like to use the nose as my lining up piece, right? And this might help you just establish where the mouth's going and where your nose is going to go as well, right? So you got to use something. This is the problem when you're lining up images. You got to pick something, right? Because again, this image isn't going to be perfect to where I'm at with lining up. So you can see like the brow is not lining up, right? So perfectly. So I'm going to say the nose needs to be a little bit smaller based upon where my brow is sitting. So I'm going to use that brow, hit the brow in the image to kind of, and that'll now give me a general, right? And see, my jaw is just way too wide right now. Okay. Which is fine. I'm going to go fix that, right? But then you can see on this side of the image, it's not. But on this side of the image, it is. This is what I'm saying is don't get married to the image. You got to pick one side, pick one portion. You got to have proportion things. What's happened, Digital Plankton? Thanks for coming by. All right, so what I want to do now is just project that paint onto there and use it, okay, as a way for me to start establishing a little bit more. All I got to do now is hit the Z key. Again, I'm going to switch to just the paintbrush. So Z, P for Paul, Paul, and then the paintbrush, okay? And then now you just paint, right? And I have symmetry on. So what this is going to do is I'm only worried about painting the right side. And then now this is just getting painted on the model that I've been making. That's all that's happening here now. Okay, so now if we resize this way down, okay, let's put our opacity back at 100. Okay, all my images are scattered everywhere. I'm going to reestablish those. So these are tiling abilities. So I'm going to just say tile proportionately. And you can see what a tile proportionally does is puts the biggest image at the top, and then the smaller ones go at the bottom. I can also tile like this, right? Or I can tile based upon selected. So the selected image becomes big and the other images are below. Okay. And then doing this. So let's just re-put these back where I had them just as my general referencing. Okay. So hopefully that takes care of your question. Did that answer your question for you? I want to make sure I got that. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. Just so. Okay. And then this one, I want to move on top. So I'm going to click this forward, and now it's sitting, because the only thing I'm really caring about right now is his head. That's all I'm looking at right now is his head, right? And then there you go. I've got this on here, and now you can see, so there's the nose. Switch back to my sculpt up brush, right? And you can see nothing's happening, right? No matter what I do, nothing happens. And that's because in the brush palette, we have projection on. Right now, this isn't sitting underneath an image. So I'm going to turn that off, and now I can start establishing this and start doing this. Now you can see when I smooth the image as well, right? So when you're holding the Shift key, you have Z add and RGB. So do you want smoothing to happen with the color? I'm going to say while I'm holding this, really important. Look up here, look at me, look at me, look at me, right? Turn off that RGB while you're holding the Shift key. Okay, and then now there you go, you have it. Okay, and then now I have this. Now, again, the other way would be, let's just fill him back with some white again. And then for me, I kind of like the floor grid is because I can just come over here again. If we turn our floor grid on, okay, this can start be projected in here. So I can go down here to my draw palette, and then I can say, let's project it into the mesh. And then there you go. So this is the slider. And now as I turn, I'm seeing everything. Right? So you could use this as establishing points. Okay? So that's a great way to work as well. There's even another way to bring in reference images. Do you guys really want to go? Is anybody, let's take a vote. Do you guys want to see the other way, another way to bring in reference images? I don't want this projection right now. Why we're taking a vote. Because there is another way, and it's very important for different people, right? Because the other way, you can actually even have a 3/4 view, and it'll snap to it. You whiz my, I don't even know what my Instagram is. I don't really do social media at all. I think it's just my name. I think it's Gaboury.Paul. I don't know. I can look. Give me a minute. Let me see. I don't even know. I don't really do much social media though. I'm just not a fan of it. And there's like, my Instagram's got nothing on it. I don't even know where to find that. Oh yeah, it's just my name, Gaboury Paul. If you really want to Instagram me, I guess I should probably start doing that. Maybe I should start making stories of these streams and put them up on Instagramming. Okay, so back to, we need to start establishing things, right? And start going through here. And I'm going to start now going down the line of sculpting, right? I definitely, proportions are off a little bit. I don't have enough volume in here, right? Because his eyes are supposed to start taking in here. This is why I'm saying, instead of sitting here trying to figure that out right now, I need to start establishing other anatomy pieces of him. So I need a neck, and then I need some shoulders, and I need an ear. Okay? So I'm going to turn on my floor grid. Okay, and then I'm just going to get this as general ear. Okay, looking at my floor grid, the front view now, I'm going to size this up a little bit different again now. I'm going to scale this up a little bit more to where I have them like that. Okay, and now I want an ear. Right, so if you guys remember from last one, for me, the best way to make an ear is either the quad, right, or tri-fill. So it doesn't matter. I'm going to just grab one of them. I need a surface to click on, so I'm just going to quickly establish an ear for him. So I'm going to say, all right, let's come out like this, and then it comes in like this, and then I do that. And then there's an ear. I have an ear. So obviously where that ear sits is further back on the head, right? So if you're looking at from top view, his ears are on an angle and they sit way further back. Okay, so I'm going to switch to, I'm going to tap on the surface to get rid of the grid. I mean the curve. Man, my vocabulary today is having some real problems. Then I'm just going to switch to Gizmo with the W key and establish this, right? And then I'm going to say, I'm going to rotate this, right? And I'm symmetrical right now. All right. Now I've got this symmetry ability here. Now, one thing you guys might want to do here is, here's something fun that could be really beneficial for you, and it'll make things even get these ears. So I've got a general shape for the ear. Okay. I'm going to split these ears off right now, just so they're separate. I want to show you something that I like to do as well. Okay, so I'm going to say, all right, I know the head's masked off. So I'm going to come down here in the subtool palette and split. I'm going to click one of these two bottom ones. It doesn't matter which one, split on masked points or masked points. Okay, so I'm going to click on that. And then now, right, I've got a head. So I'm going to call this Gremlin head. Version 1. Okay, and then these are his ears. Might help if Paul can spell today. I'm out the gate, going to make a folder. Okay, and then let me rename that folder. I hit enter too fast. And I'm going to say Gremlin. Man, I don't know why. Just go with it. Okay, and I'm going to now start positioning these things in a folder, because I'm going to start doing like arms. I'm going to start doing the body and legs and so forth and so on. Okay, so I might as well start setting myself up right out the gate. Okay, for this, I'm going to go ahead and quick save this real quick, so I just have a version of this saved away. Okay, and now I'm going to go to the ears. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come out of symmetry, and in geometry, okay, and I'm going to delete symmetry. So I'm going to say only give me the one side, just only that X side. Okay. Right. So what I want to do now is I'm going to use actually a deformer to help me. So I'm just going to position this in a relative spot. I'm going to say right about here is good. Okay. And instead of sitting here trying to do this and then map this and then try and scale this out like that, right? I'm going to do something else, which of course you guys can see that's super easy to do, right? And then I can use the infinite move to start positioning it to get that arch that's in the top, you know, getting this arch. Okay, I can move that, but I want to introduce something else here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is flip that, and with my gizmo selected, and I'm going to make sure I've reset the gizmo. So I'm going to hold the Alt key and click on this reset. You can see that the gizmo is unlocked. So what I'm doing is resetting the gizmo. So what that means is if I hold the Alt key, you can see I can position this wherever I want. And now you can see like the Y is going one way, the blue is going another way. I'm going to reposition that. Okay. Then I'm going to say center that. Okay. And then now I'm going to say the gear. And what I'm going to look for is the bend curve. All right. And what do I have here now is a deformer that looked at this bounding box of the ear. This is why I deleted the other side. What's happening, Baron87? Thanks for coming in. Hey, man, everyone, let's do it like we did last Saturday. Where's everyone from? Where's everyone from? Last Saturday was amazing. We had people from Japan, Australia. Throw in the chat where you're all from. I'm intrigued. Okay, so now we've got these cones you can see right here. So you got a blue cone right here, which is your smoothness. You got curve resolution. You got some smoothness here. You got an axis. And then you've got symmetry. So I don't want symmetry. Definitely don't want that. Okay. What I want is at least 3 points right now. And obviously I want it along the X because I made this ear along the X, right? So I want those points looking at the camera view. Let's switch back to full. Let's switch back to full view, Paul. Yes. Right. So looking at this, right? I made this X, right? So obviously this deformer, I want the controlling points to be along this because the ear, even though my ears are like Gremlin ears themselves, open doors, okay, I want to use that ability. So that's what this red cone here is for, okay? So back to not extreme close-up of Paul, okay? I'm going to, with this orange cone, I can pull on, you can see you can add points. You got it. Honestly, people, start low, right? Just get 3 points, all right? And then now I'm going to come to this view, and I'm just going to grab the far one and start doing this. And you can see how quick I can kind of get the arch for this, right? Just like that, I've got an archway for him. Awesome. Just awesome. Okay, and now watch this. If I want to refine it a little bit more, this cone right here, right? I pull on it, and you can see now I've got it some more added points, and I can refine this. And I'm going to stretch this out more because I want the surface to do that. Again, this is my Gremlin, man. Yeah. Okay, and you see the tip? It kind of needs to start tapering, right? So guess what? You have the ability to do that. So you have a squishing and size capability. So at every point here, you see an orange, right? This is actually a twist. So see, I can actually start twisting the ear if I want. Okay. So I'm not worried about a twist right now. What I'm worried about is tapering. So you got a white cone here and you got a white cone here. So I can change the scale of these and kind of just have a slight taper. I can even pinch it, right? So this is now pinching this way. So it's pinching this way. So it's like me taking my hands and doing, and then I can pinch this way if I want to, right? So that's what, when you go one way, right, there's this scaling, and then this is my pinching, and see, one way pinches this way, and one the other way pinches this way. So I want to pitch a little bit that way, and I definitely want to taper it a little bit, and taper this. I want to play with this size a little bit more now. I definitely need more volume down here, more volume here, right? And then final straw, go some volume down here, right? And then bingo. God, his ear's massive. I love it. This is a self-portrait ZBrush Gremlin for me. This is the Paul ear edition. Obviously now, right, I've made it too big. So easy. But you can see I just quickly brushed it, and then Deformer, right? Obviously, if I wasn't talking to you guys and teaching you guys, that would only been a couple minutes for me to do all those steps, okay? And the name of the tool, again, is the Bend Curve. What's nice about this, people, is I can switch to this. Right now I'm back to this. I can size this down right here. I can even move this. So if we go to solo mode, right, and I'm going to say I want to have this be the endpoint, and now turn this on. Now when I scale, I'm scaling like this. So I'm looking at how far the ear comes down on his jaw right now, right, and how far does it go up. So definitely want to scale that up a little bit more, down, maybe a little bit more like this. Start pulling that ear out a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. And I think maybe I've put too much of an archway this way, right? So now I can switch to that, and then there we go. We're starting to get this, right? So this is what I'm getting. You can see the image. You got to be careful because this image from the front view, right, is really fish-eyed. So I wouldn't rely on that. I'd actually rely more on this view to give me the more accurate positioning of the ears, honestly, just because of that fisheye that's really happening in there. It's really just, now it's just personal preference of how big do I want to make his ears. I'm going to go that big. Okay, I'm going to turn off my floor. This is now what I have. I've got this, right? I've got some thickness. I already got some tapering in there. I'm really off and running pretty well here now, okay? What's also going to be nice for you guys is I can use other deformers. So I'm going to go ahead and Dynamesh this ear now. Okay, so we got a Dynamesh. And in fact, I'm going to drop the resolution. I don't want as much resolution on the ear. Let's go 64. Yeah, maybe we'll say we're on 128. I want a little bit more than that. Yeah, that's good. Okay. And of course, now we switch to any of the brushes we want, and I can start refining this, smoothing this out. Okay. But if I want to continue using some deformers, right, I can. So especially like in here, I want it to taper even down here a little bit, right, and have some control in there. So I'm going to come from up here on the top, right? Again, looking at this gizmo, I'm going to click here and click on Deformer. As you can see, it does a bounding box of this mesh, right? And looking at this, I also have symmetry ability. So I can say symmetry in the Z. So that means whatever I'm going to do in the front, it's also going to happen in the back, which doesn't make sense, right? Because then when I do this, you can see it's going both directions. But see how easy it is maybe to stretch out the ear a little bit more? And then I would actually also switch and look from the top view and see how far. This is a great example. The ear does need to get pulled back a little bit more, actually, the more I look at this, right? It needs to come way back, right? And then now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make the ear longer. Okay, so I'm going to do a deformation like that. Yeah, I'm putting some big ears on him. I like him like that. Yes. Yes. Okay, now, what I also like about this deformer, this is just like probably like, i.e., maybe a lattice deformer you've seen. Yeah, baby Gremlin, Yoda, for sure. When we get the teeth, though, it's not gonna look like Yoda anymore, right? Because we're gonna like make him angry. Okay, so now that I have this, okay, I'm gonna say, all right, I accept this. So gear, hit accept. Now, where your gizmo sits in the world is going to be important, okay? So I'm going to go in here now and say, all right, let's get in here. I'm going to position this at a different angle. Say something like that. And when I hit deformer now, you can see the deformer now is taking that angle, okay? And the points here are being controlled, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add more controlling points. Say something like that. Okay. And now what I want to do is these points here, okay, I want to be able to move them in a little bit. So right now, again, I have symmetry on in the Z. So whatever I do in the front, it's going to happen to the back. I got a centering point in here. So point, so I'm going to do this, hold the control key. I switch to the alt key now. Okay, and then now only those points become available. So now if I start pushing them in, you can see I'm putting a little bit of a tapering down. So now I'm getting a tapering like this, right? And then now I'm like, okay, those are good. Now let me do the same thing right here. Let me start tapering that in a little bit. And then I'm going to say, I'm going to now accept that. I accept it. And then there's my blocked out ear, right? And I'll redynamesh that. And eventually we're going to start smoothing things out, right? I'm trying to block this out right now. I'm just quickly trying to get some form, some shape in there, right? And then now the last thing is I need some volume in the ear right here, right? So the move brush is great for that. Just the alt key, just start pulling on that volume in there. Just start adding that in there. All right, yes, yes. I'll push in this way now. Start getting a little bit of cup in there. Nothing really too crazy. Whoops. Okay, redynamesh, and bada bing, bada boom, there we go. Okay, now I've got an ear going. Right, so now I can come back over here. I can do a mirror and weld, and I've got the other ear. So now I can really establish the jawline a lot better, right? And I can start looking at my other references and see where does that ear sit? How far does that ear sit forward, right? Now that I have that ear, right? And I definitely now want to throw on a neck real fast. So I'm just going to come to the head here, all right? And I'm just going to use a cylinder. Okay, so I'm going to switch to an insert mesh brush here. I've got a cylinder right here. Okay, so I'm just going to throw out a cylinder there. Okay, there's his neck. Okay, I'm going to position that a little bit more. His head, right, comes off, so this neck should be on an angle. Right, I would probably go with a 35-degree angle, somewhere in that world. Right, something like that. And then just how big of a neck do I want? Okay, that looks pretty good. Okay, and then now I don't want this to be a part, right, of the head right now. Okay, I'm just going to make sure that in Dynamesh mode, I'm going to turn on this groups option. So when I redynamesh, this is still available as a separate piece. Even though this is all the same subtool right now, I still have the availability that if I switch to move topological and I'm in symmetry, right? Whoops, I came out of symmetry. I can actually just move the neck around where I want it to go, right? And then move, now I can just move the head around and say, okay, his head definitely needs more volume coming down this way, right? And then now this starts to establish individual pieces that I can break off down the line, or even to the fact that I'm going to weld everything together, right? And you can see his neck definitely starts tapering out a little bit, right? So obviously I can say, well, let's actually taper that out. There's actually a taper here. You can start tapering it out that way a little bit more, like that. Right, and then the benefit of using the deformer is, okay, it's a little too much, is it's uniformly happening for me, right? So it's a quick adjustment for me that I'm getting. You know, I'm going to go with a little bit longer neck, I think. I'm going to readjust my gizmo here, just so I can establish this line. I'm going to move that up here and just give him a little bit longer of a neck. I'm going to go more in that realm. Okay, and then now I'm going to throw some shoulders on him real fast. So again, I'm going to use this primitives brush, and I'm just going to grab a sphere. I don't need anything right now crazy. There's obviously many ways to do this blocking out, but right now I'm just trying to start establishing a head with some shoulders for him, right? And start looking at this so you can look at his shoulders, how much they're going to come out. Right? Here's where that move infinite is going to come in very handy, right? I can start just moving that out and give him a little broader shoulder, and then his chest is going to come down. And obviously this is all going to get refined, right? Once I start working on this. Okay, so I just need to start establishing some body form in here. Just start making some kind of gestural understanding of where he sits in the world. Okay, so his chest needs to come in a lot more. There, happy little trees. There. Okay, so as you can see, this move infinite is doing this, right? So if we want to, again, right now I have move infinite on, which is the depth, right? I can come down here to auto masking as well. And then I can throw on topological, right? And then now you can see only the chest is going to move. And right? And now I think the Dynamesh is too high. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, so I'm not messing up my head, making these adjustments in his body. Well, we're good enough now. It's at least established something. Back is way off, though. Let me adjust that a little bit more. Let me smooth that back. See, I like to be able to, so this is, again, where I probably switch to some Sculptors Pro so that I can just kind of move this, quickly smooth this. Right? And again, I can tell it, the smooth brush, to be topological. Right? So now only the smooth brush, okay, is getting that. Right? And if I want to now turn that off, okay, I can go back to this. Right? Now I'm going to mask this out so I can just quickly refine this with Sculptors Pro. It's a great way for me to quickly refine some shapes. Right? Then we'll do a little snake hookaroo. And this time I'll do it by the normals. Okay, it's a little extreme. All right. You're getting the point. I want to move on now to start, now that we start blocking things out, obviously we're going to start sculpting him up and making him actually look like a gremlin, of course. Well, I want the ears even bigger. I want bigger ears. I'm going big. I don't like where these ears are sitting. So I'm going to make sure I have symmetry on. Again, I'm going to hold the Alt key. I'm going to move this down to here. Okay, and I'm going to turn local symmetry on. So when I make the ears, I want bigger ears. I want to go like, this guy's got big ears, right? So I'm going to go crazy big. Right, and then move them more here. And then even rotate them out a little bit more. Oh man, that's it right there. Yeah. I'm going to look at the brow. They're massive. Okay. Okay, so Randy Dice is asking a great question. Okay, so Mr. Sanson is asking something too. So, right, I blocked out a body the last stream. So I could even use this now as a separate subtool. Okay, so there's the body I kind of just blocked out real quick. Right? So if I hit the A key, it gives me that body. Okay, so right now I'm putting a head on. Right? And I don't really want that. So I'm using the head somewhere else right now. So I'm just going to delete it. So I just have just this. When I get A, I get only that. Right? And if you want, since I blocked this out with this image, right, getting the proportions, I can now come and use that. Right? So now this is just something I can append to the one I'm building right now. So even if I didn't want this part right here anymore, right, I can now plop that body on and use that as a way, as a guide to figure out the head. I don't think the head's big enough right now either. I think my head's too tiny now. And that's where you're going to really start to using that. So now I can say, all right, I can say append, and then it's looking for this, right? And then there's the gremlin rig, right? And then this, okay, is right now a Z sphere though, right? So you can see I'm in adaptive skin mode. So I can preview and discard the changes and then preview again. This is not what I want to append, okay? So what I want to append right now is just the mesh. So I'm going to go ahead and delete this one. I'm going to go back to my body. And right now I'm like in a preview mode, okay? So I'm going to come down here to adaptive skin again. This is just another tool. And I'm going to say no Dynamesh. Let's just do a density of 4 and preview that. And then there you go. And what I'm going to do is say make adaptive skin. And what that has done is one tool, right? So you can see it's called Gremlin Rig, which we're going to use later on to rig. And then there's just a mesh skin. Because if you look now, the adaptive skin menu is not available to me. So now this is the one I want to put on the head, right? So I come in here and I say append, and I'm going to say there, and then there's the head with the body, right? So I can rename full body ref. Okay? And then now I just move this down, right? So I just move this down and position that. Okay, so this is sitting here. And then now this is why I like the folders. Let's position his head a little bit more. So I'm going to come over here to the gear, and I'm going to hit transpose set. And now I can just move his head where I want it to position it on the body. So something more like that. Okay, and right here you got pizza boxes, pizza boxes, pizza boxes, pizza boxes, right? And then there you go. Now I'm establishing what I'm trying to make here. And I still don't like the proportions of his head, right? Because if you look, obviously this body was made from this guy. You look at the head proportion to the shoulder, right? And then here's what you probably would want to start doing. Okay, so here's a key thing here. So I'm going to move this image, right? To make sure, since I used the body from this image to make it, I should be using that to also establish then the head. If you look how big the head is, right, on that one compared to my head. My head's nowhere near large enough, okay? Not even close. So here's something that could be very beneficial for you. I'm going to switch to the Gizmo, but now I'm going to switch to the transpose line, all right? And that's hitting the Y key, okay? And you're going to ask why. We need a Bart Cool moment. I like that one. Okay, so now that I have this, right? Do you see all these slashes here? I'm going to use that as a kind of like a guide, right? So I'm going to say, let's move this. I'm going to hover over this one. I'm going to say, okay, from there, and hover over this one to there. So I'm now going to say, let me look at this from here, the middle. Okay, so that's how big the head is, right? So you can see it's 0.6 units. Okay, so how many heads should I be able to fit in this? Well, let's see how many units in this image right now, how tall it is. So I'm going to use my image, right, as a way to gauge the height, right? And that'll help me establish the head size. So you've got 2.6 units, right? So we're just going to round up. So let me do my math real quick. So 2.6 divided by 0.6, we should get 4.3 heads in his body, okay? So 3 heads, okay, 3.5, right? So let's look now and see, do I have 3.5 heads? Okay, it's going to be pretty an important thing to establish 3.5 heads, right? So I'm going to come over here, right? And what I'm going to do is, just for the sake of having an understanding here, I'm going to split the head from the neck and the body and everything else right now, right? So I'm only going to look at the head. Okay, and then I'm going to say, let's split that, split hidden. Now we've got a head, and I'm going to rename this the neck. Okay, we got a neck now, and I definitely don't need this anymore, since now that we have a body. Okay, let's delete that. Okay, I actually hit delete whole subtool. Right, so let me go back and put another neck on it. I accidentally deleted the neck. So let me throw another neck on there. I'm going to use a cylinder again. Throw that neck on there. Okay, now not in solo mode. I'm going to go back to using my Gizmo. And then just position this kind of where I want it. A little bit more angle in it. Right, and then I'm going to reestablish and make it be a little bit like that. Okay, good enough. Okay, and I'm going to split that off. Okay, I'm going to rename that neck. There you go. Okay, so this head, right? Let's just do a duplicate. This is one way I would go about doing this. Me personally, I would do a different way that I'll show you for sure. I'm going to just move the head over here, right? So we should get about 4.5, and I measured from the top of the brow to the bottom of his chin, right? So if I'm going to hold down the control key and do this, I can now boom, boom, boom. So you can see he's more like 5.5 heads. Okay. So this, obviously the head is too small, right? And the proportions I have in the head right now are not lining up right. The jaw is also not long enough, right? So I need to establish this stuff first before I start going crazy, okay? And start getting into all my details. Okay, so the nose, I don't even want there. So let's do this. I don't want that nose there. Let me get rid of the duplicate. I'm on the duplicate right now. Let me delete that one. And so I don't want that nose right now. Okay, because the nose, you look, sits higher up in his brow. Right, so it's more up in this area, the nose. I'm going to turn Sculptors Pro off just to quickly establish that nose, where I want that nose to be. Somewhere in that world. Yeah, something like that. Say somewhere in there. Definitely needs more eye volume for his eyeball and the volume in the eye. Definitely need some more volume in there. Okay, and then now I'm looking at this volume. Right? Do I have enough volume in here to give him his mouth and his chin and his lips? Right? That's what I'm looking to establish. So just a quick establishing line through here with the Damien standard. Right? It's not bad. I'm not in a horrible spot. It's not horrible. Okay, I'm just going to give him a little bit more in the jaw. A touch more in the jaw. In there. I'm going to give my guy a little bit more jawline in there. A little bit more like that. And a little bit more bony structure in here. Right? And then this. Now I'm getting in the weeds of just sculpting, right? Okay. So for me, when I've got now the right head the way I want it, okay, is I want to now start doing that proportional thing to make sure. But instead of doing it the way I did it, right, where I just did a duplicated head and then went down the duplicating side of that, I'm going to use array mesh for me. So I'm going to open up my array mesh in here. Okay. Then I'm going to say, all right, I got this array mesh in here. All right. And let's see, I'm getting in the weeds now. Now I just want to sculpt. Forgetting I'm with you guys, and I just want to sculpt right now. Okay. So I'm going to turn on my array mesh, right? I'm going to say I need, right? Our heads were about 4.5. So I'm going to say I'm going to need 5. Okay. And then I'm going to say, let's lock the position and the size. And I'm going to turn on the transpose option. And now I'm going to turn on transpose. And this is now going to act, because this transpose option's on there, this is now going to act more like a controller for the array mesh. So, yeah, we could put braces on the Gremlin. That'd be a good one, Digital Plankton. I like where you're going. Yeah, and then Tiago, yeah, at times I'll use only Dynamesh for sure. But I do like having the combination. Even for me, looking at this head still needs to be wider, right? It definitely needs, before I even do this, this is, well, you know what? Let's do it and then watch what happens when we do this, okay? So I've got 5. So what I do is start pulling down on this, right? And I start establishing these, right? You can do this where this is establishing the heads, right? So you can see the heads are not, right, lining up right. So my head in general isn't large enough, right? It's a tiny head. So this is going to help me. I'm going to switch back to the gizmo, okay? And when I size this up, right, you can see they're all sizing up. Okay. Now, if I establish this and I say don't lock the size, you can see now this is the difference. So you can see as I'm sizing him up, his head up, the head's now moving. Because what we're telling array mesh is don't lock the size down. In essence, as I change things to the mesh or an array meshes, right, the size isn't locked to, it's got to stay this size and not stay relevant. So in essence, what I'm saying here is I've offset the heads here, 4.66, right? Okay, and I said we need 4, right? And about a third. Okay, so I'm at 1, 2, 3, 4, and then here's this one starting to come down. So I probably need to go a little bit bigger, something more in that realm. And there, that just helped me now, right out the gate, establish. And then because I'm using array mesh, the beauty is if I start now making adjustments here, right? If I stay in symmetry mode, you can see they're all adjusting, right? So as I start adjusting through here, I started getting adjustments everywhere. So his jaw needs to be a lot wider. I'm going to go more. Now, since I'm using this body, I'm going to start using this as my main piece to look at. And you can see his jawline should come down further down into right at his neck base. Kind of what I want to establish. And then making sure, right, that jaw should actually come out like this, which then will start establishing this a lot more. Something more like that for my jaw for him. And don't forget, I'm going to be putting all those spiky details in this, right? I'm going to pull this out a little bit more. Okay, this is looking good here for volume. Let me pull that out a little bit more, right? And then I can make sure I'm always staying within line, right? And if I'm getting not staying within line, then I can always come back and start pulling it back and making sure this is happening. So for me, I really like using array mesh for this. It's just a really great way to go at this, right? And then now you can see his ears are too small now, right? And then now the back of the head is bothering me. Now let me get this volume. Like for me, sitting in this stage, just making sure I get this volume right is so important. It's going to line everything else up. Forget about all the detailing, which we're going to get to in a stream. Don't worry. I was hoping I was going to get to it in this stream, but I just have been having fun just messing around with him right now. I need a side view so I can see how far out the back of his head is going to stick from his body, right? Using his body as a reference. Yeah, gremlin it up, man. Now switching to my ears. Okay, let's put my ears in here, right? And I can put my body in here in this folder. And now I got these ears. Now let's make these ears a lot bigger, right? I'm going to go way bigger ears. Like I'm looking at close to his shoulder, right? Something like that, probably. Then let's bring him down so it gets closer to his shoulder. Like that. And there we go. We are now really off and running, right? And then now that I have established this, and if I'm good to go on what I've been doing here, right, I can now start the next phase, which we're going to have to do in another stream because we are coming close to being done with this stream today, unfortunately. They are only with me for a couple hours today, but you can see where I'm going with this. Oh, it's 2:15 in the morning there? Wow. Okay, I'm reading Everson's questions. It's a great question. Okay, so how do I establish? So I don't need a ray mesh anymore for this. So I'm just going to turn it off. I don't need it anymore, right? And then that way I can really visually see. Don't forget, I got to start adding volume here in this chest, right? It's really skinny right now. And then his shoulders, like they're going to come down a little bit. I'm going to have volume in there. So that'll be my next setup, right? So the great question that's being asked right now is, how do I move multiple subtools, right, without going anywhere else? So again, this is where the Gizmo comes into play. That's what I was doing with this selection set, transpose set, but you guys can do that on your own, right? So if I turn this on, you can see everything is kind of ghosted, the body, right? Everything else is available, right? So then if I don't want the ears, I hold down Control and Shift, I tap on the ears and see now they are also ghosted out. So when I move, I only move the neck and the head, and you can see the head and the neck are completely different subtools, right? They're not the same subtool. So Everson, this is how you would do this, moving multiple subtools around, right? And this will allow you to scale, rotate, right? So I can scale them. If I want to now scale up the neck with the head, I can do that, right? It's pretty simple for me to do now. I have that ability. That's all this is. And you're using Control and Shift. You hold down Control Shift and I tap, and now I get the ears, right? If I hold down Control Shift and tap on the outside, now it's the body, right? That's available, and all the head. And then Control Shift tap. I do that. It's swapping it. Control Shift drag. Now I've got everything, and now everything will actually move as a unit. This is how I can move all subtools as one big unit. So look at this, right? Look at it. That icon is essence stacked subtools. If you want to go Joseph Druss ways, it's a stack of pizzas boxes, right? And then I took it to another one and said, well, it's a party, man. So how many subtools do you want coming? Do you want, like, is there a lot of subtools? Or is there only one subtool? Is there only two subtools, right? I want more pizza boxes, man. So it comes into play, right? So that's how you do all that movement that you're going through there, okay? So this is where I'm at now, where I now got to continue the rest down the line. I'm going to quickly start blocking out his rib cages, his legs, his arms, like reestablish his shoulder, where because right now his shoulders are just like this, and his shoulders should be more down, like the way I'm standing right now, right? So I need now to go through all that before I even worry about, okay, where does the mouth, where does the nose? I'm going to use all these things now to just quickly line up my proportions, and then be looking at every view and making sure this is good to go, right? So, and then the next stream, okay, in fact, you know what? Let's just continue this. I stream next Wednesday. No, next. I don't remember now when I stream again. I think it's been running through on the bottom for you guys. I'm trying to, because my days keep changing. No, next Friday. I'm next Friday. Okay. I'm just going to continue this Gremlin guy now for the rest of my streams that I'm on. Okay. Because I know I want to make a Gremlin, man. I think this is fun. This is just my 80s, and I want to have the fun challenge of making a cool Gremlin with some details and go through the hurdles with all of you and make sure we're all establishing those hurdles. And I'll show you different corner ways to do this. Christmas in a corner. You know it, Comics Legend. I love it. Okay, so another question I saw coming through here. Let me get to my chat up here. Dougie, you're asking, good afternoon for me. It could be evening for you. Way off topic. So what you're doing is you're tangenting us right now. Is there a way to use a ray mesh to create a spiral? If one natural creation in other seeds, such as, yeah, sure, you could create spirals. Sure. So a ray mesh, Dougie's asking about spirals. Okay, so I'm going to save out my Gremlin right now, just so I have him. saved out, since I am now going to be making a gremlin for my stream. That's my goal here. Let's see if I can get a gremlin done. Let's cross my fingers, because my workload gets crazy some weeks, and I don't even get to play, and I get a sad face and a tear, right? And I'm going to save out. Let's save out my spotlights just so I have that as well. So I'm going to call that my gremlin spotlight. I have that. Okay. And the floor grid, we can save that individually since I'm saving a tool, or we can just save a project. So I'm just going to save a project right now, and that'll have my floor grid in it. But if I wanted to, okay, I can come up here in a draw palette, because remember, I took the time in the beginning of this to make a floor grid of the head. So I can save right here and open right here. And let's not forget, I right now don't have perspective off on. The minute I put perspective on, things will change too. But right now, I like blocking out orthographic just to get establishing, and then I'll throw perspective on and I'll start sculpting. Okay? So to your array mesh tips, okay, and your idea, let's just quickly, I'm going to do this just very fast, okay, with just some kind of cube shape, just so you can just see what you can do here. All right? Yes. 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 Be art. Right, I'm going to turn this off. We don't need that on anymore. All right, we can keep it. I want to remind you that I'm making a gremlin. Okay, so if I go to array mesh, okay, I turn it on. Step 1. Okay? Step 2 is how many repeats do I want? Let's just for argument right now, let's just put 12. Okay, so you want some kind of spiral happening, right? So that's a rotation happening. So in essence, you want rotational spiraling happening here. So then that's in my rotation here. I would want to rotate this way, right? So that is my Z axis. So right here, I'm going to say Z, and I'm going to rotate. And I'm going to say 360 degrees. And now what happens here is these are now rotating in one area. Okay? If I was to switch to Gizmo and start doing this, see, they just move as a unit. But if I say now lock position, right, and also lock my size, right, I'm going to want to start playing with that. So as I start pulling these apart, you get stuff like this, right? And then I can move these like so. Okay, but what I want to do, actually, is I want to do an offset. So I'm going to switch to the transpose. I just like using the transpose, and I'm going to offset these. Right? And then now you can see you can kind of offset these in any direction that you want, right? So if you notice, if you switch to this, okay, and I turn on these lock positions, I can start doing a little bit of that, right? And then I can start moving this way a little bit, and even start doing a spiral staircase. And then now I'm going to switch back to this, and I'm going to just size this down. And then we're looking at just this shape right now, right? So I'm going to start reshaping this. This is the beauty, is as I reshape this, right, it happens to all of them. And right, and then now it's just, if you keep adding more repeats, right, you're getting more repeats, right? I've got a rotation happening as well. And so you can keep rotating more and more and more and more. You've got this happening. You've got an offset happening, right? So I got a little bit of an offset happening in there. Okay? And not to that, but we have a pivot point, right? And you can see I can start moving all these around wherever I want. Okay? And then I can even scale, which this is why I like to use this. I can start scaling them down like this. Right? And then this scale is happening uniformly, but I can use this to kind of adjust the scaling in every direction that I want. Right? So you can have a lot of fun here. So this is the Z. I'm going to scale, like what way do you want to scale through here? Okay, and then now you can have all bunch of stuff like this happening, right? And then on my offsets, I can play with that again and bring them down a little bit more. Right, and it started with this. So this is how I can start doing, and now I just continue this, right? What kind of spiraling do I want to have happen through here? A lot of fun. Right, so is that answering the question for you? And now I need more. More spiraling. Let's go all the way. Now let's scale it back down. This is why I like using this. Adjust the scaling now. Right, and then now they're just, it's too far apart. Let's move them closer together. Then you can do stuff like that. Look at that. Pretty dope. Right? This is what I love about Raymesh. I'm like kind of designing on the fly. Right? And yeah, once I'm done, that's why there's a make mesh right here. So I can turn this extrude on. I don't need extrude, but I can make mesh. And now it's all one mesh. Right? And then there you go. That's a mesh. And I can use that any way I want. Right? But to your question, don't forget there are presets in here that you can probably start. See, there's array, and see, there's already some spiral presets in here. Right? There's already like spiral presetting going on through here. Right? There you go. And that's just loading the settings. Okay? So don't forget about that. There's some presets in there. Yeah, I like, yeah, good call. It's like a chameleon eye. Yeah. Right, but you can see array mesh is so powerful. You just sit there and go learn it, and there's other ways to use array mesh besides this. There's stepping, in essence, additionally added to that. So that it takes care of that question, right? There goes another cool moment, Mr. Sanson. So Dougie, it looks like that answered your questions. Oh, they're rerunning Epic Red Wings with Stevie Watt. Yes. Okay, I had another question come through. I can't say right now, Dr. Depresso, about the ZBrush Summit at this point. Can't say what we'll be doing with that right now at this moment. And then Iram was talking about the bend deformer. Yeah, once the bend deformer has been used once, the bend deformer only aligns along axes, but that's why I showed you the deformer, how it lies along the gizmo, right? So again, the question that's popping up when this, let's just go to a cylinder here. Okay. Let's make that a quick mesh. I'm going to throw this into Dynamesh world. Sure. Perfect. Okay. And then bend it. We got a bend curve, right? So I'm going to say, I want to bend along this way and I want 3 points. And this time, okay, let's go symmetrical. So as I pull on one side, it's pulling on the other side, right? So as you're doing this, right, this is that arch, right, way that's coming through here. And I can add a point, and then now it's along that, and then I can say this, and I can use this to smooth it out, smooth it in, smooth it out, smooth it in. There's even smoothings, right, through here, right, which is this. Okay, once you've accepted this, and I say accept, when you go to use the bend curve again, so you can see it only goes along the axis. There's not a way to make the bend curve refollow this, to answer your question, for this particular deformer. Okay? So, unfortunately, it only looks right now at X, Y, and Z. All right? To answer the question. How to make a pebble necklace using this along a mesh. That's a pebble necklace is super easy. That's really, really, really easy, actually. You could just honestly, all you have to do is this. grab this IMM primitives. Okay, there's a sphere. Go here to stroke and turn on curve mode. That's it. And then now when you draw out a curve, it's repeating spheres. There you go, pebble necklace. Problem solved, right? And then if you want to put this on a body, this is the best way to do it. So let's say here, let's load Julie. Let's load the female. Okay, and let's go up maybe in a little bit. Let's have a little bit smoother. Let's delete the subdivision levels. Okay, and I'm only going to look at her for now. And let's Control W this. And for me, the easiest way to do this is this. Use a slice curve. Slice right across the neck where you want that pebbles to be. Oh, let's get rid of the layers. Okay, where I want that necklace to lay. Let's say something like that. Right, as an example. And then now, because I'm in curve mode, I can come curve functions and I can just tell it to do polygroups and frame it. And then now I touch, and then you got a pearl necklace. And then now I can actually move this, position this. So I can say, see, it's bend and snapping. So I can keep repositioning this. And if I want to add pearls, it's nothing to add the pearls. But this is snapping to her surface. So there you go, pearl necklace. Just like that, done. That's how I do a pearl necklace, okay? Unfortunately, guys, I know you're asking me some development questions. I can't really talk about development, unfortunately. Because while we're in the middle of developing things, I couldn't tell you what we're developing, and sometimes things go another direction and even create an amazing feature. Okay, so I got to call it a stream, people. Thanks for tuning in. I really appreciate being here Saturday afternoons with ZBrush, with your host, Paul Crazy Loudmouth Gaboury is what I'm going to start calling myself because it's insane. Again, though, I'm going to continue working on my Gremlin here in my streams. So the next time I stream, my goal is to keep moving further along, right? And we're going to get to the points where I'm going to show you guys how I've detailed it. I'll show you guys even how, might even go all the way down the line of even painting him. But I definitely want to show you all my techniques for doing the detailing and things like that. I want to try and go all out for this. So if there's any last minute question, now's your time to ask. By all means, again, thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you guys being here on a Saturday afternoon, especially on Mother's Day weekend for those in North America. I don't know anywhere else in the world if you guys celebrate Mother's Day. I honestly do not know that. But for those, any mothers watching too, happy Mother's Day. And then, yeah, Digital Plankton, I think you're on to something, man. We are definitely going to put some braces on it. We'll make just like Gremlins 2. I have an original Gremlins 2. Maybe we'll have some fun with it, right? And maybe once you got one Gremlin, it's easy to make it look like several different Gremlins. So I like where you're going. We'll make maybe a geeky Gremlin, right? That's like a pocket square, just like they did in Gremlins 2. They had the other one had all those different Gremlins. That's what I liked about Gremlins 2. So I'm going to go ahead and start watching Gremlins and Gremlins 2 and looping it here in my office, just so I stay in the rhythm of that movie and that thing when I'm sculpting here. So again, I really appreciate you all being here with me. Okay. Let me know if there's any last minute question. If not, I'm calling this a day. Again, please pay attention to our ZBrush Live. We got an active calendar. So let me go to that right now so you guys can see that. Hold on one second. Let me pull that up. ZBrush Live. Which we're going to see me within the stream now. Yay! Because that's what we all want, is an infinite of my craziness. We don't want that, people. We don't want that. Okay, so again, a great spot, everybody, is the calendar. I know this was requested by somebody in this stream, so I don't know if you're even aware of this. But if you guys go to calendar mode now, okay, you can go here and you can come to any of the events that are happening that day, and you can click on the name of the person. Right? And what that's is going to send you to a part here where you got a remind me. So you'll get an email reminder. You got a countdown. You also have calendar editions and eye count. So I'd recommend going to here. As you can see, Every day we have a stream going on for Pixologic. So Monday is going to be Daisuke. He's doing a figure. Tuesday is going to be our next ZBrush Masters with Daniel Bell, which I will be the host for that. Okay. On Wednesday, you're going to have Mr. Captain Joseph Drust. He's doing also a project-based one where we teamed up with another team company called Proco on YouTube. And they had Scott Flanders as a concept artist do concepts. And now Joseph's turning one of the concepts into a 3D mesh. So he's already done the first stream. So check that out. If you click on this Pixologic Proco collaboration, you can click here, click to watch the very first stream. So you might want to watch that before you watch Joseph's second stream, just so you know what's going on there. Thursday is going to be Mr. Solomon Blair. And then I'm going to do the Gremlin this Friday. Okay? So I'm going to continue on that Gremlin. And then again, I'm going to go on Saturday. But as you can see, the surprise, people, is we're going to do a double stream. So Solomon and I are both going to be in the same stream next Saturday. We're going to, instead of just listening to me, it's going to be Solomon and I. We're going to do a little battle of the theme here, and it should be a lot of fun. So that's your surprise. I wanted to hold off on it till next Saturday just because it'll be more fun. Him and I had some ideas that we just didn't have time to put together this week. So next Saturday should be a lot of fun for us all. So there you go. There's our streams. Again, thank you for watching. Happy Mother Days for those of the mothers in here. Have a fantastic rest of the day. As I like to say, have a delicious day. This is Paul Gaboury. I'm out.